to this channel. If you find also the video interesting, you can like and you can share. Thank you very much. You can share the link, and I'm very grateful that most of the candidates they are requesting, they know that I teach heritage at advanced level, and many of them they were requesting for this opportunity that I may present them questions. So today it's a wonderful day. Your intellect have come up with something new and interesting to you. For example, today I want to revise our November 22 paper 1 heritage studies at advanced level. So put a smile on your face, because we are together, guys. I'm not forgetting you, but because of pressure, I've got many students, they do history and FRS, and very few, because heritage have introduced lately, and most students have decided to take up, especially last year and this year. But guys, I am with you. So here we have got our question in our heritage paper 1. Our questions will be very straightforward and strategic, and they don't need to stress you. For instance, the question says, identify any 3 methods used by slave traders to obtain slaves. This is our topic on slave trade, and they are saying, give us 3 methods in which slaves they obtain, the slavers, they obtain slaves. So we've got, they used force, number 1, also they used chiefs, they used kidnapping, they used their police brutality, and whatsoever. These are some of the methods, we just listed them. Then here we have got explain negative social impact, the negative social impact of slavery on African heritage. So what we have to know here, we've got what we call political factors, social factors, and economic factors. When we are talking about the social factors, we are talking about the social aspect, how the society is built up, how the social life has been affected due to slave trade. So in this case, we are going to give us, because this question carries 14 marks, we are going to explore for about 6 to 7 points, well-explained points, well articulated, so that we can take 14 points. So we've got the issue of religion. Slave trade socially, it have affected the religious life of Africans. For instance, because of slave trade, Africans, they were now forced to worship Christianity. They were not allowed to adhere to their indigenous religion, and this have affected their social status, because they were being forced to adhere to the religion which does not belong to them. Furthermore, there was a loss of ethnic identity. When we are talking about this point about ethnic identity, Africans, they've lost their identity. Right now, if you can take a closer look, in America, we've got what we call black Americans. These Americans, they came from Africa. So they've lost their identity, their ethnicity. They've lost their birthright while they were being forced to migrate to Europe, and as slave trade ended, they were not returned back. So this made them to lose their pure origin. Furthermore, 2/3 of the Africans, they were exported by force. And it means that the economically active population in Africa was affected. Why Africa left underdeveloped? Why the development was now done in Europe? Because those who were able-bodied, they were now working in Europe. Furthermore, it led to the breakdown of African norms. African norms and values, they were disintegrated. They were no longer followed, because now the Africans who were now into slave trade, they were now following the odds. They were now following the cultural norms and values of America, of Britain, of whatsoever. Instead, for them to form culture, to follow suit, or to be within their Ubuntu cultures. If, for example, here in Africa, we know that always we respect our parents and whatsoever, but in Europe you can be told that you can have the ability to sue your parents. So it means that your African identity, or your cultural norms and values are affected. Then it alienated Africans from their land. Africans, they were removed from their land. They no longer have the ability to have their minerals, cultivation, and whatsoever in which they should have enjoyed. So this made them to suffer economically. Why? Because their source of economic status was breached. As Europeans, they were taking Africans to Europe, they were also taking their land. Above all, it led to ethnic fragmentation. When we are talking about ethnic fragmentation, we are talking about our black identity was affected to an extent that it seemed as if our blacks, they are inferior to the white men. So this made the Africans in that period to think that they are not worthy to live, which was a negative impact. I think we are together. So now we are moving on. The question now, our party C. So tomorrow I'm going to post the number 2 for November 2022. Be ready. So now, to what extent did the slave trade contribute to underdevelopment of Africa? This is a very interesting question. It does not give boundaries. It is now having political, social, and economic. So if you are wise, we are going to raise about 6 points on your affirmative side and 2 points on your non-affirmative side. So your party C could have a greater extent and a lesser extent. So you could say to a greater extent, slave trade contribute to underdevelopment of Africa. Why? Africa was underdeveloped. Why? Because the economically active population, instead for them to work in Africa, they were moved to Europe to work in plantation, and this has benefited Europe instead of benefiting Africa. Furthermore, it led to the disintegration of the political identity of Africa. Why? The future political leaders who had the ability to rule and to master the African continent, they were taken away from their land and they were now being treated as slaves. It means that Africa was not left with incompetent leaders to some extent, in which a slave trade was contributing. Why slave trade is contributing to it? Because they are taking the future leaders and forced them to work. Furthermore, it led also to underdevelopment in the sense that mines, they were left without anyone who could do work. For instance, we know that in Africa it was an economic based. In African continent, they were known as miners, they were known as blacksmiths, they were known as fishermen, they could have fishermen and whatsoever. But we can see that these individuals, as they were taken from Africa to Europe, it made them, the African continent, to left without the economic division of labor, where all these tasks, they were left without anyone to take the heed of them. So it led to its underdevelopment. Furthermore, it also led to its underdevelopment. Why? In the sense that by the time when slavery was taking place, it means that there was disunity among the Africans, because the chiefs were used as agents of slaves. It means that there was no longer having a unity. There was no having a community, what we call Mushandra Pango, right? People could no longer work together as a community. Why? Because some of them, they were yet that these individuals have sold our relative to the whites. So it made Africa to have disunity. As disunity emancipated, it means that people could not work together, because unity is the center force for prosperity, for progress. So by causing disunity among Africans, there was now conflicts and no development. Right, this is what you could have explained. Then you can say, however, though slave trade have led to underdevelopment, with other factors which also can be considered to have led to underdeveloped Africa. For example, of colonialism. The colonization of Africa played a very pivotal role, where the colonial rule was now undermining all African economic activities, and they've even taken their land, and Africa is an agro-based, so it made Africans to be underdeveloped. Also, we've got weak leaders In Africa, there were weak leaders like Nyamboka Pararidze, whosoever. There were other weak leaders who were puppet leaders who have agreed to work on the implementations of the Europeans, and already Africa was weakened. So these are some of the factors you could have included. Thank you for watching. Tell everyone. I'm going to make sure, guys, who want heritage, that I'm going to drop a single video each and every day for you guys. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your request.